Hello, good afternoon. I'm Crystal Starr, and today I am here with Erik Krammer, which is the contest technical director for surfing in the Olympics. Okay, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, thanks, Crystal. My name is Erik Krammer, and I am 49 years old. And I was born in San Luis Obispo on the central coast of California. But for the majority of my life, I've lived in Oceanside, California, which is a city in the southern part of California in San Diego County. And it's pretty much where I grew up and started surfing. And yeah, that's pretty much where it's been.
So, you are the technical director of surfing in the Olympics. So there has also been a lot of confusion about if it's called the Tokyo 2020 Olympics or Tokyo 2021 Olympics, because that's when it's going to happen, right?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, Crystal, and I know that a lot of people have had that same kind of confusion because, today is July 18th, 2021, and we are just 6 days away from the start of Tokyo 2020 Olympics. So it's a little bit confusing, but obviously, these Olympics were supposed to happen 1 year ago, and then we were faced with the pandemic and COVID, and basically everything around the world went on hold for 1 year. So when they put it on hold and brought it back out for 2021, they just put it exactly 1 year later. And instead of recalling it the 2021 Olympics, they decided to call it the 2020 Olympics. And that was more about the fact that every 4 years the Summer Olympic happens, and every 4 years the Winter Olympics happens. And since we have another Olympics planned in 2024, the spacing still needs to be 4 years between. And so they put it as the 2020 Olympics, but I still hear some people calling it 2020 and 2021 as well.
Yeah. And this is the first time that surfing has participated in the Olympics, correct?
Yeah, this is the first time that surfing will be a sport in the Olympics. So it's, really exciting time for everybody involved and all the surfers around the world. Because for so many years, people just considered surfing as a hobby or a pastime. But now it's considered as, an official sport. And obviously when it hits the Olympics, it reaches that international recognition. When surfing goes live, when it debuts in the Olympics next week, in one single moment, the amount of people that are going to be exposed to surfing is going to be probably more than any surfing competition in the entire history of surfing. So it's really good for exposure. It's good to grow the sport. It's good for the athletes, all the officials involved. It's really going to grow around the world instantly.
Wow, that's really impressive. And how were the preparations of making surfing an Olympic sport, right?
Yeah, well, the preparations, one thing that I've learned over the last 4 years, 5 years, is that the Olympics doesn't get planned overnight. I've worked with a lot of surfing events, in my entire history and time around surfing, but I've never been exposed to something like this where the planning is so far out in advance to where, 4 years they're already looking at different models and different formats, and if this happens, and if this happens, you go to letter A, letter B, letter C, and everything is so completely planned out. And so the preparations were, really exciting because working with the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, they never had a sport like surfing. And so it was really, challenging at one point, but also very rewarding at the other point, because it was basically we were needing to educate a very respectable professional group of organizers what surfing was all about. And that's when I really realized how complicated a sport is, because you have a field of play that is always changing. It's the ocean, so one wave is always different. You don't know when the swell is coming, when the swell is going. It's not like going to a basketball court and the hoop stays in the same plot every time. So having to educate, and and prepare the sport to take that direction was really challenging. Getting them to have an open window, and okay, we have 9 days, but we only have 4 days to produce the event, and then you have a subjective judging criterion. All the preparations on that were, like I said, really challenging and rewarding, because it just took a whole nother level that the sport's never seen. And then once we thought we had it all figured out, then COVID came along, the pandemic, and all of a sudden the last year has been about trying to plan the sport for COVID, and not just a surfing event, all the sports in general. So that's been, more of the complications over the last year, is already getting it planned and then trying to plan the sport within, a pandemic that's still going on.
Wow. So, the next Olympics are scheduled to happen in Paris and in 2024. So, has you and the Olympic Committee and the ISA started planning that already?
Yeah, I mean, we have, like I was saying, the Olympics are basically every 4 years. So technically right now we're already into planning the first year of the 2024 Olympics. So that's been another challenge as well. It's like trying to plan 2 Olympics at the same time. And so, the next one will be in Paris. Paris 2024 is what it's being called. But already working with the International Olympic Committee on that event, we studied the scenarios and studied the models, and we know that, obviously Paris doesn't have an ocean, but France does have amazing waves, amazing culture, amazing country, but the waves tend to be best in August, September, more September and October. And in July, when the Olympics are going to happen, was really risky. And so they decided to choose a place called Tahiti. And if you know much about geography, Tahiti is owned by France. So we have a really amazing opportunity to go ahead and use the island of Tahiti on one of the most challenging and amazing waves that the world has. And so when we get to that event in 2024, it'll be at a wave called Chopu Tahiti, and we'll be putting the best men and best women out there to show what they've got. It's going to be really exciting because people are going to get a taste of surfing in Tokyo. They're going to see really great high performance surfing, lots of standard power maneuvers, but really good aerials and stuff. And it'll be a show, but the waves are probably going to be small. It'll be competitive. But then when you get to a wave like Tahiti, the waves are giant, and it's just all about the barrels, and it's it's an eye-opener of a wave. The world's just going to go, wow.
And wow is being the technical director of the Olympics and knowing all these little shortcuts, and like being able to be at the Olympics, and it's just so amazing. So can you describe your role as the technical director of surfing?
Yeah, my role as the technical director at this event will be very similar to what I do when I work for the ISA, which is the International Surfing Association. And basically, with my past history, I used to be a competitor myself for many years. And then I went from a competitor, and I went to college at the same time, got a college degree. But basically when I graduated from college, then I got an opportunity to start judging. Kind of took that competitive background as an athlete and then transferred it into basically a judging direction. And I judged for 11 years on the World Championship Tour, which has the best surfers on it. And then when, I reached that point of wanting to do something else with, the ideas and a lot of the foundation that Krammer, my wife, was giving me, we were able to start our own business, International Surf Services, and really go a different direction with kind of coaching and working with like the young kids, the 9, 10, 11-year-olds, 13-year-olds, and give them a base. And then somewhere in the middle of that, the ISA came along when they realized that I wasn't working for the WSL anymore, and they started hiring me as their technical director. So it really took my background as a competitor and then a high-level judge, and then combined it into the technical director. So my role as the technical director kind of encompasses everything that I've done, from when I first got into surfing until now, which spans for more than 40 years. And so basically I oversee the judges. I give them direction and help and provide them with the tools and the access points that they need to do their job. And I'm also overlooking the head judges to help them out, and then also pulling in the video replay system and really making that technical team function and work as best as possible. But then also working with the computer system, and the actual contest director who does all the formatting and the seating and all that. And then I'm also the connection to the athletes, because if they don't understand something or they have a problem or they want something explained, then I'm the one that needs to go down and talk with the athletes and talk with the coaches and talk with the team managers and really try to bridge that gap. And for me, the more communication that they know what we're judging on, and we know how they're surfing and what their level is, and all that, just good communication just brings it to another level. So when I go in as the technical director, I try to really bring all the experience and all the background that I have and really just do the best job possible. So I really feel fortunate to be in that position. Like I said, I've been involved in the sport. My family was a surfing family, so I've been around it my entire life, and to reach this point to where it is into the Olympics, and then be able to bring that all to the table, and it's really fun and exciting and proud, and so many different emotions flowing through at the same time. And in 1 week we're going to see what happens, and I think it's going to be great.
Wow, it must be amazing to see the sport evolve like that.
For sure.
And so, who are these little cuties?
Oh, these little guys. You're going to see a lot of these, this little guy and this little girl. Chiefly the one I'm involved is this one, and this would be Miratoa, and he is the mascot for the 2020 Olympic Games, which is going to be starting on July 23rd, just a couple days. Surfing starts on the 25th. So this guy's little name is Miratoa, and this one would be Somite, and she is the mascot for the Paralympic Games, exactly. And that's a whole nother point as well. Like, originally how it was planned was the Olympic Games was supposed to be in 2020 and the Paralympics were supposed to be in 2021. And that was one of the things that they did, was they brought in Olympics at the same time and pushed the Paralympics a little bit back. And basically it's only about a month that separates the two. So all the infrastructure is already built. So, they pushed them together, and it's going to be really exciting, for the next month.
Yes.
Lots of sports going on.
Yep.
So you're going to be watching?
Yep.
I'm sure you will.
Yep. Thanks, Dad.
No worries.
Thanks for watching. Thank you so much. Hope to see you watching the Olympics. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.